So we have the perfect issue. I think it is absolutely the perfect issue for the perfect guest. With you, Jeffrey Tucker. Donald Trump has signed an executive order, screams every headline and every post on X, that bans flag burning. Now, this has drawn the ire of not just the left, but many on the right. I want to share with you some of that feedback. Colin Wright, who is a conservative libertarian commentator on X, wrote, "Banning flag burning is absurd. It's anti-free speech and peak snowflake behavior. I would never burn the American flag because of what it symbolizes to me, but the act of banning the burning of it runs more contrary to American values than the burning of it itself." Dana Lash, radio host, friend to the Will Cain Show, posted, "Flag burning is vile, but the government has no right to control speech or expression." What say you on the executive order on flag burning, Jeffrey Tucker?
If it's your flag, you can burn it. But the executive order, if you read it, and it disappoints me, we live in the age of the internet where you can just click a couple of things and read something. That's not what the executive order says. It says that it's calling for the full enforcement of the fullest extent possible of our nation's criminal and civil laws against American flag desecration that violate applicable content-neutral laws while causing harm unrelated to expression, consistent with the First Amendment. That's what it says. So it's actually a ban on violent crimes, hate crimes, illegal discrimination against American citizens, or violations of American civil rights that are associated with things like burning the flag. But it doesn't actually, nowhere in this executive order does it say you can't burn the American flag. It actually acknowledges that flag burning is consistent with free expression. What it's doing is trying to deprecate the act as far as, and that's the reality, it's often associated with other property damage and hate crimes and other forms of disorderly antagonism that nobody really wants. So I just think we need to do a more careful reading of this. It's fine to critique attacks on free speech, even when they come from the Trump administration, but there should be some accuracy associated with it.
I think we are missing accuracy. We're missing depth. We're missing context, and we're actually missing reading the executive order. Perfect analysis, I believe, by you, Jeffrey. The headlines scream that he is banning the burning of the American flag, but the executive order lays out exactly what you just shared with us today. If you're watching on the YouTube channel of Will Cain Country, or you're watching on Facebook, you can see this displayed here in our studios. I read from the Executive Order Section B. In cases where the Department of Justice or another executive department or agency determines that an instance of American flag desecration may violate an applicable state or local law, such as open burning restrictions, disorderly conduct laws, or destruction of property laws, the agency shall refer the matter to the appropriate state or local authority for potential action. In short, if you are breaking another law, like disorderly conduct or open burning laws, then you will be prosecuted for burning an American flag. There's also some conversation about whether or not your flag burning is an incitement to riot, which, by the way, would essentially be the current standard for the First Amendment and free speech before the United States Supreme Court. In Brandenburg, the 1969 case that says the end of your free speech is when you incite violence or physical action from another person. And so when I look at this, the Trump administration truthfully hasn't done something that radical. Admittedly, they sold it as radical. We're banning the burning of the American flag. And everyone took the bait by simply only reading the headline.
This just keeps happening. Trump trolls the left takes the bait, the right gets alarmed. But who's looking at the text? Just go to the executive order. That's what I did. I said, oh, wow, this sounds weird. I read it. That's totally consistent. And by the way, this executive order comes in the context of countless numbers of northeastern states, coastal cities that have painted crosswalks with LGBT, with pride rainbows and that sort of thing. And if you put skid marks on them, you'll be arrested. So, there is that.
So perfect.
I mean,
there
come
is
on.
that. It's true.
But on the other hand, it's
Here's
okay.
The headline, Jeffrey.
if you burn an American
American
flag at
flag.
Union Station, which is what I saw happening last year, these guys, they're burning American flags on the statue at Union Station. That is desecration. That is disorderly. That is absurd. What civilized country can ever tolerate that? So, there is that. I mean, a lot of what Trump is doing is just reinforcing laws that we've forgotten, tapping into certain common sense, the people that burn your nation's flag. And again, I believe in property rights. If you got a flag and you got a few acres of property and you want to go out to the back and throw it in the fireplace, fine. Nobody's going to stop you. Trump's not going to stop you. Nobody's going to arrest you. Nobody's going to even know about it. That's fine. But if you go to the town center and start screaming and yelling and engaged in insane conduct and start burning a flag, in front of a beloved statue that offends everybody, why shouldn't why should that be considered free expression? That's not free expression. That's as being a massive jerk in a way that diminishes the quality of life for everyone else. So I say that as a
Some
libertarian.
headlines. He says that as an anarcho-libertarian, but evolving.
Yes, that's right.
Some headlines to back up Jeffrey Tucker. Here from the BBC. 15 years in Iowa jail for burning a pride flag. That's from December 19th of 2019, where a man was prosecuted for burning a pride flag. And then from the Daily Mail Online, 3 Washington teens are facing 10 years in jail after making skid marks on LGBT Rainbow Road mural while riding e-scooters. Those teenagers were riding e-scooters and peeling out in a crosswalk, which means on the road, in a city street where they had painted a pride mural, and those kids were facing charges. Explain to me how that's a crime in America, but burning an American flag, well, that's quintessentially American.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the taxpayer protest against all these absurd pride rainbows on our streets. There are our streets, and cities are paying tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to these artists, who are slopping buckets of paint there, and then you can't use a crosswalk. Now it's desecration to walk on the pride flag. You have to walk around. The whole thing is crazy, and I get that people are getting sick of this. Meanwhile, the flag burners, are that's free expression. So this is what Trump is pushing back against: is brilliant politics. And I guess my plea is just that when you see these kinds of cultural war things going on, just look at the text and consider the content, and calm down, and maybe you'll come up with a more rational judgment. In this case, Trump is not banning flag burning; he's banning breaking of laws that are associated with flag burning. It's pretty clear, very clear.
Meanwhile, more and more Americans continue to take the Pete and Bobby challenge. The director of the FBI took the Pete and Bobby challenge. 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups. See if you can do it in under 10 minutes. If you can hit 5, you've hit elite status. Director of the FBI, Kash Patel, came in at about 7.5 minutes. Friend of the show, host of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show, the founder of Outkick, Clay Travis took it as well. We'll check in just a moment and check the tape on Clay Travis. But, Jeffrey, I wanted to share this with you because this is up just in the last 24 hours. At the New York Times, the headline reads, 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in under 10 minutes. What could go wrong? Subhead, fitness experts caution against jumping into a difficult routine suggested by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Pete Hegseth. Inside the article, Jeffrey, they also criticize both Kennedy and Hegseth's pull-ups as not full extension. Go ahead, Jeffrey Tucker.
Every day the New York Times runs their daily Maha article. Actually, today they ran it was a double hitter, right? 2 big attacks on Maha. Every day. There's another one today that said something like, chemical foods are just as good as natural foods. And by the way, vitamin D is dangerous. It actually said that. So, but I just can't believe this stuff. I mean, what commentary is necessary? All you have to do is screenshot it and highlight it and send it out and laugh. But actually this attack on exercise was a bit much. I will admit to you that I'm more and more inspired by RFK's exercise routine. I decided this morning to undertake I left aside the pull-up part. I just let him do the push-up part. Now, it's true I did it military style, not that widespread thing, but right in front of me, kind of thing, which most people can't even do one of those things. Well, I did 30. Not bad, right? But no, I was not able to do
Not
100.
bad.
I'm, and I tell you that I will not hurt myself by doing 100 because I cannot do 100. I mean, why is this difficult? You, you get tired and then you stop. Do we really have to
Maybe I
explain
should have
this?
read this New York Times article because I was hurting. I was hurting during it and after it. Now, my time, as well celebrated, was 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Now, how did Clay Travis do? Why don't Jeffrey and I check the tape? Here's Clay Travis taking the Pete and Bobby challenge.
All right, headed to go do the 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups challenge. Nash, how do you think I'll do?
I think you'll do great.
What did you say the first time?
I think I'll complete it in an hour.
An hour.
Here he's taking it now. Will he make it in under an hour? He's got his video sped up. Clay Travis doing one at a time on the pull-ups. He's dropping after every rep on the pull-ups. This is not going to be a great time, Clay. If you got one, he's one at a time in it on the pull-ups, and I don't see his chin getting above the bar. In fact, the speeding up of it makes it look even worse. I don't know how high we're actually getting up. And two-a-days, go ahead and apprise us. What was the final time for Clay Travis?
I will have to check the tape. Let me get back to you on that in 1 second.
I actually know. I just thought you'd be prepared to produce the show two-a-days. Clay Travis did it in 11 and a half minutes. 11 and a half. Beating the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy. Not quite making 10. But I'm with Jeffrey. Look, I really mean this. If you can do 50 pull-ups and 100 push-ups, period, I'm impressed. I think it's a feat of strength.
Amazing.
If you can do it in 10 minutes, all the more amazing.
Yeah, and I say that even about lame push-ups. This is like a pet peeve of mine when I see people doing push-ups with their arms way out. I think, oh, come on, give me a break. Let's see some real push-ups with hands in front, exercise those chest muscles. It's a different. That's what's called a military push-up. So, and that's I'm not sure what kind Bobby was doing, but yeah, I can do 30 of those, and I'm very impressed. I cannot do 100. It's crazy. As for pull-ups, if you can do 3. Congratulate. I would like to, how many men of a certain age, or really any age, can do 3 full clean pull-ups? I don't know. I think it's pretty rare. 50? That's crazy. I mean, congratulations. That's great. That's a great goal, and you can work up to it, maybe. But that is a tough exercise. So anyway, there's no danger associated. It's not like you're going to accidentally do 50 pull-ups. Oh, whoops. What have I done? I've hurt myself. No, that is not going to happen. If you can pull yourself
up. You got to be
up.
careful. You got it.
That's great.
You got to be careful, says the New York Times. Two-a-days. I'd love for you to look up the answer to Jeffrey's question. Here, you can chime in at the end of our interview. What is the average American man's ability to do pull-ups? I'm just curious what that might be. Meanwhile, we're going to move to this story. I think it'll be fascinating to run by Jeffrey as well. On Friday, President Trump proudly proclaimed that the United States government has taken a 10% interest in Intel, the technology company. To that, Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, said the following: if socialism is government owning the means of production, wouldn't the government owning part of Intel be a step toward socialism? Terrible idea. And then Jessica Tarlov of Fox News' The Five said, I don't want to hear a single word about Democrats and socialism ever again. Period. All caps. Ever. What do you think, Jeffrey, about the United States government taking a 10% interest in Intel?
That's a lot of high dudgeon. And I don't disagree with what Rand is saying, but I do want to make 2 points. One is that the U.S. government pays billions upon tens of billions of dollars to private companies all the time. I mean, Amazon is massively subsidized by the government. So is SpaceX. So are so many companies. I mean, there's so many companies that are subsidized by the U.S. government. I mean, is that socialism? Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, sort of. I mean, if suddenly the government is a relevant customer, even the dominant customer of a particular enterprise, that's socialistic, and I think that needs to be decried too. So there's nothing unique about what Trump is doing here. And I'll say, a second point, which I would be curious about your response to this. Again, I'm against this. On the other hand, would it be better for the U.S. government to just no strings attached bail out Intel? Here's your billions and tens of billions of dollars. Do with what you want. I mean, is that a better solution where you're throwing good money after bad all the time? On the other hand, and what Trump's trying to do, and I kind of get it, it's like if taxpayers are going to be on the hook for this company, then then taxpayers also need to have some stakeholder relationship with the company. And yeah, it's not taxpayers directly; it's the public purse. But maybe it's winning an investment. I mean, it's hard to know in advance. Intel seems like a losing company, but maybe this investment works. Again, I don't like this, but it's number one, it's hardly new. And is it arguably an improvement over just throwing good money after bad with no strings attached? I don't know. I just it's an argument worth having.
And I think let's have that argument because I actually think you nailed it. That's where I am. Look, let's start with the fruit of the poisonous tree. Let's start with the original sin. And that is the government playing a game of picking winners and losers when it comes to private industry, which we've been doing for quite some time. Of course, everybody's most famous example is when we bail out the banks in 2009, but we do it all the time. And it's not just tax credits, it's subsidies. We subsidize industries. And we have been for quite some time. Was that a step towards socialism? Yeah. It was. And we continue to do it. And again, it's not just tax subsidies. It is grants. We literally grant money to companies for development, for whatever it may be. And one could argue, and Rand Paul should argue at that point, that is socialism. But here's much like the flag burning, reading underneath the headline of what has actually been done with Intel. The United States government was granting billions and billions of dollars of money to Intel. It was going in the form of government grants. As you point out, that's a no strings attached gift of money of the American taxpayer. This has been converted into a 10% equity stake for the American taxpayer. Now, it's a minority interest for the United States government. As I understand it, they don't have any board representation. They're not going to have any big voting interest. They simply have converted the grants into something that has an upside for the American taxpayer. Instead of giving away our money while they pick winners and losers, maybe our debt and deficit can be reduced or our tax coffers benefit from the upside of an investment in Intel. I don't like it philosophically and principally, but that philosophy and principle has been long in the rearview mirror. It's like way past. And this just seems like a better deal for the taxpayer.
Well, I completely agree with everything you just said, and I think you and I are on the same page on this country. But it was the same way with the railroads in the 1860s, and this stuff began a long time ago with U.S. government investing in certain companies in what they perceived as the national interest. I take Amtrak all the time. I'm sure you do also. If you spend any time in the Northeast Corridor, Amtrak is a great blessing. Well, I mean that's a government investment. Would it exist without government? I don't know. It's an empirical question. I don't really know. But I'm against all these kind of things. On the other hand, listen, I act as if there's no precedent for it, and I'm not sure if maybe what Trump is doing here is an improvement over what has been the long tradition, which is to throw away taxpayer money on losing companies in the game of subsidizing them. There's another factor here too that you and I should mention, which is that there is a perception of a national security issue behind this Intel investment. Look, China is cleaning our clock, and many other countries on these advanced technology investments. The U.S. has definitely fallen behind. The COVID period assured that was going to be true forever, for reasons we can talk about some other time. But that sort of secured it. The U.S. is behind. This is an attempt by Trump to bolster American industry mainly for purposes of, I don't know, national greatness, but there also is an element here of perceived national security. I can disagree with that, but that is the rationale, that is the thinking. Here, again, it's just exactly like the flag thing. It's best to calm down, look at the details, consider the options that are on the table, not comparison of my utopia and your utopia against some ghastly dystopia, right? But let's look at the practicalities on the ground and do a rational assessment thing of it. And in this case, I'm not prepared to say that this Intel strategy is on its face evil and absurd compared to what the alternatives would be in the real world.